What's good, y'all, and welcome to another edition of Should You Summon? We have two things to discuss. Number one is the banner itself, and number two, the reason why you might want to skip out on that banner and what the certain conditions are, as well as what we already know is going to come in the near future at almost a 100% chance.
Our research begins.
The biggest argument probably is with her getting such a huge rework, with esotericists getting more and more support, it only stands to reason that something big is to come to the esotericists. So, first off, you have the Hatset and Twyla banner. So let's give ourselves an idea of what they can do. Twyla being a very strong single target unit as well as having burns. One thing that already holds her back is the fact that she only has one tile range. One tile range means in most cases if there is an enemy that directly attacks her, she's going to lose her life. And it also does limit her options when it comes to certain placements. The important part is between Hatset and Twyla, you do not need a whole lot of them. So Twyla is getting her strongest awakening at the A1, with the A3 only being a minor increase and the A5 being unimportant. And even the A1, even though it's a great damage increase, at A0 she's more than fine. So Twyla is a hero you can have at A1. You would like to have, her, preferably at A1, which is great. But Twyla is also one of those heroes that you're not going to miss. Especially if you have a Wukong, if you have a Kigiri, if you have a Sylas, if you have a Hex, if you have a Talon, if you have a Yuri. Anything also single target focused, you can miss out on a Twyla without really feeling bad about it. One of the reasons for that is even though she has a bond skill with Hex, the bond skill Hex gives her is way more important than what she gives to Hex. Also, if you do not have a Hex, Twyla is weaker, and to make the most out of your Twyla, you should always play her with the Hex. So this is Twyla. Now Hatset. Hatset is a must-have, but on a condition. Hatset is only a must-have once. You only need her a single time. If you already have a Hatset, you do not need more. Reason for that are her awakenings. So this one, attack triggered bounce damage going up by 5%, irrelevant. A3, invisibility 10 seconds longer, irrelevant. The only relevant one is the A5, and that also only if you play high-end GVG. Alright? That's the only awakening you need. You either go all the way, or you might as well keep her at A0. So this is Hatset for you, and this also concludes the banner aspect for this banner. If you have a Hatset already, you can easily skip. Keep in mind, we came from a limited, we came from a banger banner. In the future, we are moving towards the anniversary, with the anniversary being around 2 months out, 2 to 2.5 months out. And yeah, it's like 2 months. I would say at maximum July, right? We're gonna see the anniversary either in June or July. So you already want to kind of start accumulating resources till then. And that's Hatset. So now let's talk about what we already know pretty much confirmed, what is going to come in the next couple of weeks. First off, for that we have to swap to the test server, which we're gonna do right now. Alright, yeah, so here we are on the test server, and these are the two reasons why you should not summon, especially if you already have a Hatset. You have Numera and you have Moirik. The two of them are also esotericists, with Falchia getting an esotericist, with Numera getting a poison rework. Before we get into anything, it already lets us speculate that we are going to be seeing very, very strong synergy between esotericists and poisoners in the future. So it looks like they're really pushing hard to start making poisons viable. And now, who are these heroes and do you actually need to care about them? So let's talk about the easier one to judge, and that is Merrick. I've played around with Merrick extensively, I've already tested him, and overall Merrick is like an invigoration set. What Merrick does is he can make your character deal between 10 to 15% more damage, and it works exactly on one character, unless you were to like deploy multiple times. But for example, let's say your Wukong does 300 million damage in a piece of content, then just by having a Merrick even on the bench and applying the rune to the character, like in Inspiration, because it can stack with it, you can expect your Wukong to, for example, deal 30 million damage more. Outside of that, he is a AoE as well as single target unit, but his damage isn't crazy. What really makes him unique is just this Wizard's Rune, and this Wizard's Rune only truly comes into effect in 8-man content. Anything with 10 men, he's not really strong enough to be staying on the field on his own, but in 8-man content you can place him down, give the buff to a unit and then pull him out again and leave him on the bench while getting a free 10 to 15% damage buff to one of your heroes. That is Merrick. If you want to pick up a copy of him, it's gonna be nice. You're gonna need a couple summons. He's gonna be more helpful than a Twyla because he's more unique, but he's not super strong and you would not cry about missing out on him. On the other hand, here we have Numera. Now, Numera might be the exact opposite, and that is because she has been getting a Falcia tier rework, a Beatrix tier rework. So let's have a look at this rework. What she does is she can get Grimthorn spikes. She can also launch these spikes as soon as she reaches her cap of 4, and then these spikes are going to do 400% damage. 400% is a crazy multiplier, and that is on a 50% chance. Look at Voltron with his Chaotic Annihilation. Chaotic Annihilation only has a 350% multiplier, so this should give you an idea of what kind of multiplier you're dealing with. Furthermore, she is dual faction and she is a ground unit for the piercers who don't really exist. Like, piercer ground units don't exist. Absent is trash, nobody really uses Araka, Enumerate is his own kind of tier, so she's like the only viable ground piercer. And what she does is then also have the ability to inflict a poison as well as restore 40 rage, meaning that she's going to get to her ultimate faster. Why is that important? Because her ultimate now has a 900 rage cost, so every time you fire this Grimstone Spike you're getting to the ultimate faster, and also you are gaining Grimthorn Spikes, meaning you're going to be able to shoot 6. You shoot these Grimstone Spikes and each spike deals 520% damage, so overall throughout this ultimate you're going to get a grand total of 3120% ult damage, which is around the level of a Wukong ultimate. And that's not even all of it. Then you also right here have magic damage of 120%. Poison Wood Branch, where your Grimthorn Spikes inflict stuns at 0.15 seconds. And when at least 4 Grimthorn Spikes hit the same target in a short period, which is during the ultimate, you're going to be triggering Toxic Surge. What Toxic Surge does, it consumes a stack of poison, triggering Toxic Surge for 50% damage. So, best example, the maximum stacks is 30, meaning if you were to consume 30 poison stacks, all of a sudden you're dealing 1500% damage. Next up, you lastly have Nature's Grasp, where Thorn Spikes also inflict damage reduction. So you have the first Piercer with damage reduction and another source of ground damage reduction, as well as inflicting Grimthorn Roots. Grimthorn Roots is kind of like Radiant Erosion in that it does true damage equal to 30% of the caster's attack per second, stacking up to 6 times, also making her probably relevant in Boreas Codex. Another reason why you need a couple summons for her is because her A1 is overpowered. Let me see, did they change it? Okay, interesting. So either this is a typo, or it's intentional, but right here doing the ultimate increases damage by 25% and damage dealt by Grimthorn Spikes and Toxic Surge guarantees a crit. The last part is not important. What is important is right here, when attacking enemies, you ignore 20% magic res, and each time Nature's Wrath is cast, which is the ultimate, you're increasing this effect by 5 up to an extra 25%, giving you a 45% magic res down. What we need to figure out is if this is a typo or a bug, because in the patch notes, for Forerunner at least, it said that this was supposed to be her A1 instead of her A3, so it might just be a Diao scenario. So if this magic res ignore awakening is on the A1, it is very, very important for you to try to at least have a chance at getting 2 copies of her. And then lastly, the biggest argument probably is with her getting such a huge rework, with Esotericists getting more and more support, it only stands to reason that something big is to come to the Esotericists. And also, if I had to venture a wild theory, I would say they're probably going to release another poison-related legendary. So the thing that currently holds Numeria back in potential and everything else is the fact that if we take a look at cost region, true damage, invisibility, hard control, continuous damage. So you have Araka for poisons, but Araka's poison application is weak. Do we have like a damage over time effect? Hard control. I think there was a way to sort by poison. But alright, no matter. So the most reliable poison applicator you have at the moment is probably Phelan. After that it's gonna be, I guess, Nisold. And then maybe Esma. But they all kind of suck, and that is because poison really needs good base stats. Poison needs good base stats so that the 5% magic damage is actually a reasonable amount of damage. The higher the base stats, the higher the stats of the character, the more poison damage they deal. So yeah, one more single target focused poison damage dealer, and all of a sudden Numeria and that next unit are going to cook. And that is all I wanted to tell you. Just keep this in mind, and if you already have a Hatsu, don't summon tomorrow. Thank me later. Peace!